I've been told that older equipment is a lot better than the newer stuff, and from what I've seen, I feel the same way. But just because they're built better doesn't mean they won't experience problems like the newer stuff. That's because if you use a two-stroke machine like this Homelite string trimmer and then put it away without preparing it, you're going to run into some big problems later on. And what are these problems related to? Well, you're about to see it. In today's video, we're going to be looking at this Homelite string trimmer, and the problem is that the fuel lines are broken, which of course means we can't start it. But if the fuel lines are broken, there's a very good chance that other parts of the fuel system need attention as well. Looking over the machine does show some other items we need to look at, but we're going to try and stay focused on getting the engine started first. But before we continue with the repair, we'll make sure to record the information from all the stickers just in case we need to order parts. As you can see, this machine is quite old and would technically qualify as an antique, but we'll save that discussion for a different day. And seeing the detached fuel filter means the fuel lines are in really bad condition, which we already knew, but the damage even extends inside the fuel tank. Next up, we'll take off the nuts that hold the carb to the engine, disconnect the throttle cable, and then the fuel lines. Just be careful and watch out for the gasket between the carb and the engine. Sometimes it'll get stuck on either the engine or the carb. The first part we'll take a look at is the pumping side after taking off these two bolts and this plate. This is when we see the main body of the carb, not to mention the round inlet screen, which needs to be clear. Now it only has a small amount of debris on it, which is a decent sign that the fuel filter was doing its job. After spraying off any loose dirt and grass, we'll then take off the plate covering the metering diaphragm, which is extremely important to how the carb works. These can be stuck to the diaphragm, so don't be surprised if you need to pry it free. And with the plate gone, we can see the diaphragm, and what we find is not good. This should be soft and flexible, but just take a listen. And as you just heard, that is the sound of one very stiff diaphragm, which means it's not going to be able to work the arm it's sitting on. That means the carb won't be able to deliver fuel to the engine like it needs to, so we'll need to change it. Now unfortunately, we weren't able to save it because it tore while taking it off, but I do have plenty of these on hand, so it's not a real big issue. We'll then take out the needle, spring, and rocker arm so that we can give this carb a really good cleaning. Now if we get this engine running again, we might need to adjust the fuel adjustment screws, and if we do, we need these plastic limiters gone to do it. And if you do a better job than I'm doing, you might even be able to save them and reuse them, but I don't plan on doing that. I'm also going to take out these screws, that way we can clean their passages, but we need to count how many turns it takes for them to bottom out. That way, we can put them back to where we found them, because we're assuming those settings will allow the carb to work the way it should. So these should be the factory settings because the limiters were still on there, but there's no guarantee that someone else hasn't messed with them. So once we've counted the turns, we can then take them out. However, don't get them mixed up because they may not be the same screws. And once the fuel adjustment screws are gone, we can then start spraying down the carb, but just be careful not to spray any debris into the passages, only out of them. What I mean by that is if you spray into an opening, make sure the spray comes out someplace on the carb. Just be careful, some of the openings are for the bolts, which means they're closed off and that spray could come back and hit you in the face. But there is one place that you need to focus on, and that is the pocket for the inlet screen. With the needle gone, you should be able to spray into the pocket and the cleaner should disappear from it. And as you can see, after spraying the pocket, the cleaner does disappear by passing through the screen. Now some might say that this is going too far, but I do plan on putting the carb into the ultrasonic just for good measure. Now while these parts are in the ultrasonic cleaner, we'll use this time to replace the fuel lines, and I will let you know that this might be a challenge depending on how much patience you have. Now to help get the fuel lines into the openings, we'll cut them at an angle, but there are other ways to do this. And after getting them started, we'll use long pliers to pull in about an inch or so of the fuel line, and this one will be the return line. The next one will be for the fuel filter line, and we'll use the same method, except this time we'll pull in several inches of fuel line so we can install the fuel filter. Now, if you don't have really long pliers, you're going to need to get very creative to get this part done. And once you have plenty of fuel line hanging out from the fuel tank, we'll cut off that angle piece and then install the fuel filter. Now, I am choosing to reuse the original one, but if you notice there's a lot of corrosion on the metal part, you might want to consider replacing it. Once the fuel filter is on the fuel line, I'll pull the extra line back out of the fuel tank, making sure the filter is in a good spot so it can pick up as much fuel as possible. So here are the parts after using the ultrasonic cleaner, and they look pretty good. Hopefully they'll work just as well too. Now I didn't use any compressed air to clean it out, so hopefully that won't be a problem. Now comes the hard part, replacing all those tiny parts, and believe me, these are very easy to lose. The part you're going to have to watch out for the most is going to be that spring. Of all the parts I end up dropping, it's the one I have to worry about. Once the bolt for the pin is secured, make sure to test that the rocker arm moves like it should, and if it doesn't, you'll have to do it again. So this is a brand new metering diaphragm, and you can find them for about $8 for a single one, but if you can buy them in a multi-pack, each one will be a lot cheaper. Now if you're only going to need the one, then just sell off the ones you aren't going to use, but I do understand most people are only going to buy what they need. But before we get too far, we probably need to replace those fuel adjustment screws. Just make sure that you put the screws back in the right location, otherwise the carb may not work at all. This is when we need to remember how many turns it took to bottom out each screw, because that's how many turns will back them out. I will say that without those plastic caps on the screws, it's really tough to turn them. That's because the slots for each screw is very sloppy, and unfortunately, we can't use our special tools since the screws are much too long. And once the screws have been backed out the correct number of turns, we'll put the pumping side back onto the carb. Just make sure that the pumping diaphragm is correctly oriented, because not only will it get damaged, but the carb isn't going to work either. This is also when we'll replace the purge bulb with a new one, but to be honest, if you need to replace the purge bulb and the metering diaphragm, then you might want to just consider replacing the carb instead. Now that the carb is back together, we'll install it onto the engine, and yes, that gasket between the carb and the engine is still there. Sometimes while handling and cleaning these carbs, that gasket will fall off, and sometimes you won't realize it, which will cause a lot of problems. Also, these carbs with all these openings for the throttle cable can be a real pain if you install it incorrectly, so make sure you pick the right one. Now the bracket for the throttle cable is kind of broken, and to help out, we'll install a washer on top of it. This does happen quite often on this model, so this is not that surprising. Just make sure to test the throttle once the bolt is tight, otherwise you might need to adjust it. And luckily for us, it seems to be working just fine, so next we'll connect the fuel lines. Just be sure to press on the bulb and listen for which port makes sounds by covering each one. And because the top port doesn't make noise when covering it, it means that port is the return port. We'll then cut the fuel lines to length, and it's okay to make them longer than they need to be because you can always cut more off later on. So when connecting the fuel lines, the fuel filter line will connect to the brass port further away from the bulb, which means the return line will connect to the one closer to it. And to find out if the fuel lines are connected the right way, we'll do a flow test after putting some fuel into the tank. Now this is fresh fuel with no ethanol and a decent 2-stroke oil, not to mention it's also been stabilized. So when pressing on the purge bulb, fuel will come up the filter line into the carb, fill the bulb, and then leave the carb through the return line. And as you can see, fuel is flowing just the way it's supposed to, which means the carb is working and the lines are connected the right way. Now if your bulb is not filling with fuel, then there might be a problem with your carb or the fuel filter. If the fuel lines are backwards, the engine might still work, however the inlet screen will eventually clog up with debris and the engine will slowly come to a stop. And yes, there should be a foam air filter here, but we're going to worry about that later on. And with the engine back together, we'll choke the carb and try starting it. Unfortunately, it didn't stay running, so we'll increase the idle speed, not to mention add more fuel at idle by turning the L screw counterclockwise a quarter turn. Now surprisingly, it ran quite well, but the idle speed seems to have a mind of its own. That's why I had to keep adjusting it so many times. So I would have liked to adjust the carb some more, but there seems to be quite a bit of drag on the shaft or the gearbox. And if I had to guess, I'd say there was very little grease in there, and that's putting more load on the engine than it's supposed to. So before we try and adjust the carb some more, we need to open the gearbox and inspect it since it could throw off the tune. But once we confirm that the extra load on the engine is gone, we'll adjust the carb then. Now this particular model of string trimmer is not for everyone, so the market for it will be small, but I'm sure someone's willing to buy it just so long as it's really cheap. So my question is, if this string trimmer was cheap enough, would you choose to buy it? Now it is a straight shaft, which is a plus, and it's also very light, but is that enough? Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.